Alrighty guys, it's Mental Health Monday here in Adoptee Reclaimed. I'm Rae, and this week we are talking about boundaries. Now, we all have a general idea of what boundaries are, but just to make sure we're all on the same page, I want to make sure we're clarifying. Boundaries are lines we draw between ourselves and others to protect our resources and needs. You set boundaries as limits within yourself to ensure that when people or circumstances that you can't control threaten your resources or aren't meeting your needs, to protect our resources situations. This is contrary to what a lot of people think boundaries are, because we usually get this notion that boundaries are something we tell other people not to cross. And that's true. You do need to share your boundaries with the people around you, but you are the one who's ultimately responsible for setting and maintaining those boundaries. Now, adoptees in particular tend to have a hard time with boundaries. We learn this from our very first experience of our mother, because our mother's responsibility ends where ours begins. And if that's severed from early infancy or into our childhood and displaced in a very dysfunctional adoptive environment, we usually grow up with a weird sense of either codependency or ultra independence, where we feel like everything is everyone else's problem or everything is our problem. And this is not a healthy way to approach boundaries. So how do you begin creating healthy boundaries? Well, you start by examining your self-preservation instincts, and those are anger, fear, and becoming overwhelmed. If you're experiencing any of those three, it's an indication that some part of you needs a boundary to be created. A healthy formula for a boundary looks like, if X happens, then I will Y. So if my roommate doesn't do the dishes, then I will do them for her. Ask her to do them. Tell her she needs to use paper plates. Unhealthy boundaries are just perversions of that formula. In ultra independence, it looks like, well, my roommate will undoubtedly leave the dishes out, so I need to preemptively act. Or in codependency, it looks like my roommate left the dishes out, so I need them to fix it, otherwise I can't emotionally regulate. Now, sometimes in a relationship, people will violate your boundaries. If that's the case, you need to recognize that boundaries are 100% internal mechanisms, and they are designed for you to control of your resources and needs. You can't control other people and circumstances outside of you, so you need to either remove yourself from the situation or put yourself in a position to regain control over what you need. Adoptees will often do this in perverted ways by either over-communicating our needs or overreacting when someone violates our boundary. And the truth of the matter is, many times when a boundary is violated, the best thing for you to do is to remove yourself from the situation and keep your peace. As you go about your relationships and day-to-day life this week, pay attention to those internal self-protection measures that tell you need a boundary. If you're feeling angry or scared or overwhelmed, you need to set a boundary for yourself, and you are the only one who can maintain that boundary. Your boundary is a measure that says, if X happens, then I will Y. If my roommate doesn't do the dishes, if my partner doesn't greet me when I come in the door, if something happens, I am going to take control of my resources and my needs to ensure that I have what I absolutely deserve to have. That's my tip, and I'll see you next week for Mental Health Monday.